I'm Nancy Cavey, National ERISA and Individual Disability Attorney, and welcome to this episode of Winning Isn't Easy. Before we get started, I have to tell you that I've got to give you a legal disclaimer. This podcast is not legal advice. The Florida Bar Association says I have to say that, and now that I've said it, nothing will ever prevent me from giving you an overview of the disability insurance world, the games the carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So off we go. Now, today's episode is an especially meaningful one for me as we explore the complexities of disability with our guest, Hollis Peirce. Hollis is 36 years old. He's got congenital muscular dystrophy, and he is someone who brings both his personal experience and professional insight to the conversation. Not only does he live with disability, but he also is the host of the 21st Century Disability Podcast. And that's a show that looks at how the modern world is changing society's perception of disability. Through his work and his life experiences, he's passionate about disability advocacy, and he works tirelessly to challenge the way society sees and supports people who have disability. And today he's here with us as our special guest to share his journey, discuss the challenges and rewards of living with a disability, and talk about the important roles advocacy plays in creating a more inclusive world. So without further ado, please welcome Hollis Peirce. Hollis, anything to add?
You're pretty spot on there, Nancy. Thank you very much for having me.
Our pleasure. Now, today we're going to talk about three things. The first is we're going to talk about his personal journey and his experience. Secondly, we're going to talk about disability in the modern world. And thirdly, we're going to talk about advocacy and the perspective of someone such as Hollis, who is very active as a disability advocate. But before we get started, let's take a quick break.
Have you been robbed of your peace of mind by your disability insurance carrier? You owe it to yourself to get a copy of Robbed of Your Peace of Mind, which provides you with everything you need to know about the long-term disability claims process. Request your free copy of the book at caveylaw.com today.
Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Hollis, can you tell us about your medical diagnosis and the disability it causes?
Yeah, certainly, Nancy. As you said, I have congenital muscular dystrophy. It's a rare form of muscular dystrophy, and it is apparent from birth. So I've never been able to walk. Unlike most people with muscular dystrophy who are able to walk in their early childhood, I've always been in a chair, and I've always had relatively the same amount of ability. However, it has slowly progressed throughout my lifetime, but it's a form that progresses so slowly that you don't even really notice it, except for in 2021, my respiratory needs required me to have a tracheostomy, and I now have a permanent vent to help me breathe a bit more fully.
So, what are the challenges that you face on a daily basis?
My disability is fairly limiting to me. As you said, I'm now in my mid to late 30s, and I'm no longer able to live at home. I'm living in a complex care medical facility, and it's filled with talented nurses that help me live each day to the fullest. It's fairly limiting in that way, but apart from that, I'm still able to go wherever I want to and do whatever I need. I had a couple of years during the pandemic that were fairly limiting, just because I am compromised. Had I caught COVID during the pandemic, it would have been fairly detrimental, as I only had I only had the breathing capacity to use about 7% of my lung capacity on my own. But fortunately, I never caught COVID before I had my trach. And I did in the fall. But my vent helped me cough it out and breathe through it. So, yeah.
So many of my clients who are disabled have more than one medical condition.
Mhm.
They might have fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, Ehlers-Danlos. So it's just not one medical condition they have, it's a multiple of medical conditions. But I always hear from them that regardless of how many conditions they have, that it feels like a full-time job, and that people don't necessarily understand how you could be disabled from more than one condition. But could you speak to, from your perspective, whether you feel like you've got a full-time job dealing with the residuals of your muscular dystrophy?
Absolutely. Living life with a severe disability is very much like a full-time job in that, basic tasks take you, whether you're getting dressed, someone takes to throw a shirt on takes 5 minutes or a minute and a half. Whereas for someone like me, getting dressed and getting up out of bed takes half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. I don't eat orally that much anymore, so having my feed through my feeding tube takes up to an hour or more, and I have to take medicines for pain relief, as I am constantly in a certain amount of pain. Having one disability often causes other disabilities. For instance, someone like me with muscular dystrophy, when you hit puberty and your spine starts to grow, your muscle mass can't withstand the weight of your spine, so you end up with scoliosis.
Right. So let me ask you this. You mentioned one of the challenges you face is pain. Many of my clients are in chronic pain from not only one medical condition, but multiple conditions. And sometimes I say to them, look, we need to tell your story to the Social Security Administration or to the long-term disability carrier by disease. I know that sounds strange, and you may not be able to classify that in your head. Do you think of pain generically, if you will, the pain that you suffer, or do you classify it based on whatever's going on? And what suggestions do you have for people who are in chronic pain to kind of document their pain, if you will, in a litigation setting where the question becomes this particular disease causes this pain, this disease causes that pain? Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely consider certain things cause this pain, certain things cause that pain, because in my lifetime, I've noticed that I didn't have this pain until this happened.
Right.
For instance, I didn't have chronic neck pain until I had to have spinal fusion surgery. And I could no longer arch my back to support my head. So all of my weight of my head goes to my neck that's no longer supported.
Thank you for describing that for me. And I'm going to come back to you in a minute because we're going to talk about disability in the modern world. But let's take a quick break. and we'll regroup in a minute.